Dungeon Master Hotline. How can I help you?
Hello.
Hey,
Hey. Sorry, I had to pause the live stream so that way I didn't have big echoes.
sure.
Um, all right. So I have been playing D&D for a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy has been doing all the DMing. He got us all into it. It was, big thing for his birthday he wanted to do. So we're like, all right, yeah, let's do it. So to commemorate us doing it for a year on his birthday, I made this one shot for this world I had been trying to build for a while, and it was my first time DMing, and it was all completely off the top of my head,
Uh-huh.
and it was great. We were all having a good time. I planned too much to do in one session. I cannot do pacing. I understand the rules of combat. I can do some encounters, things like that. I had no idea what I was doing when it came to, oh, yeah, they can do a fight here, some things here, a fight there, and we'll be good in like 3 hours. I did not realize that was not going to happen.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know how to keep the pacing good while keeping everyone involved, satisfied, and on track.
And are you talking specifically for this improv game that you did, or are you talking about for like when you plan, like how to plan for
So
pacing?
it wasn't improv. I meant more like I made the story, I made the world, like it was all homebrewed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And your issue was with the pacing. So describe the pacing issue to me.
Yeah, so when I was putting pieces together and I was writing out the story, I'm like, okay, well, they got to know what they're getting into. So I had this whole, prologue, and then they did one fight. It's basically the world that they're in right now is the prequel. So it's this big war that defines everything that goes forward. And what they're in is like this is the last mission of it, the last day of it. This is the final assault. Allied forces going into enemy forces, and then here's some stuff you have to do. Basically have it broken down into like three parts. They gotta storm the castle, storm the city. They gotta find these two lieutenants, and then they gotta go and destroy this avatar that the one of the evil gods is using to tether himself to the world.
Okay. And so did so what happened? Like what was the pace? What do you feel was the pacing issue? Like did it go too fast? Did it go too slow? Did you put too much
Whoa,
information? Not enough?
way too slow. I think I gave him like a good amount of information, because it was also like a surprise for my buddy. So I'm like, hey, you have no idea what you're doing. I've been doing this behind the scenes. He had a character ready to go. He's like, he was really excited for it. And then I said, okay, well, this is how it all ties in. Here's all the information you really need. You're about to touch down on the shore, so anything you guys need to talk about, have any questions about. And if they didn't, I'm like, okay, so here's a little cinematic cutscene. Here's a guy you got to protect because he's new. Just kind of give them, some kind of like help as I can play along with them. I made like a level 2 fighter to go with their level 4s and 5s characters.
Uh-huh.
And we got to one fight on the beach, and I'm like, oh, well, that's a two-part fight, and they just now got to this point. So I feel like maybe I talked too much, and maybe, yeah, I wasn't moving combat through enough, or maybe they just, it was also, luck of the dice rolls, who hits and who doesn't.
Absolutely. Maybe so if you feel like it's a tricky one. That's a tricky one without having like actually been a part of the session. If you want to speed up the pace, put it on lean on the players. If you feel like maybe you're describing too much, that will slow the game down. If you lean more on the player's decision, like keep your explanations brief, have them ask more questions. That way, they gain the information that they want instead of just getting an information dump from you. Like rather than have like this several paragraph document that you just read to them, give them just give them a sentence or two, and leave information open for them to dig deeper. And that way the players will effectively set the pacing, and also the players will gain the information that they want, and they won't get any information that they don't want. And it'll stick. The information will also stick a lot better if you leave it on to them to pursue it rather than you just dumping it on. So, for example, let me think of a good example of this. Okay, so as a DM, let's say they walk into a room or they walk into a tavern, and then, this is a tricky one, just like off the cuff. They walk into a tavern and there's a dead body on the ground. All you have to do is describe the dead body, and that's going to create an avalanche of questions right away. It's going to be like, wait, who is it? So now you can answer that question like, oh, it appears to be a human wearing this noble's clothing. Like, oh, it's a noble. Is there anybody else in the tavern? And then you just kind of like doing that, giving them that one sentence, but having it create questions unlocks more information. Like, who's in the tavern? What are they doing? Why is this body sitting here? Now I'm going to go talk to the barkeep. Why is there a body on the floor? Kind of thing. You understand what I'm getting at? Like creating these questions for them to answer?
Kind of like give them just a thread and let them unwind it as they go.
Right.
Okay.
That is a good way that's a good way to control pacing, because that leans on them to set the pacing. It won't feel near as slow if the players are constantly like gaining new information on their command. Barkeep,
right.
Why is there a dead body in the floor? The barkeep says, oh, he's just a method actor practicing for a role. Ignore him. That's one sentence, but they gained a ton of information from that. And now the players are like, wait, what? So the players can either say, okay, I'll have an ale. Or the players could say, wait, is he a famous actor? Like they can ask the questions and gain the information that they want, rather than say like, oh, that's Bobbins the Earth and he is the method actor, and you just go on this long like paragraph that you got set up. The barkeep just answers with one sentence, and the players have to dig to get the rest, or not.
Okay. So my only thing with that is we've all been playing at the same time, all been playing for a year, but me and my buddy, we take in so much D&D content, you know what I mean? So we watch people do their streams, we learn some stuff about the books, he and I talk about it all the time. And then the other 3 players, one is brand new, she joined just for this, she wanted to be part of it. Then it's my fiance and her best friend. They were playing when they started when we started, but they don't want to take in all the content that we do. It's just kind of like, this is now our labor of love. It's to swap being the DM, so he can play, and so that way we can all experience it together. They're just kind of like, oh yeah, well we're here for the session, so they don't really think about D&D as like, hey, literally you can do anything. They think of it as, okay, so press A to talk, press B to do this, that, and the other. So it's hard to like leave those threads and not have it be one person helming the ship.
So a great way to kind of teach them that they can do anything is to have other NPCs doing stuff that's kind of off the wall. So the best way, rather than kind of like option paralysis them with like you can do anything, instead have your NPCs doing anything to them. So maybe in combat, an NPC grabs a chair and like hits him over the head with it, or somebody climbs, an NPC climbs a tree and starts throwing acorns or something. I don't know. Like have NPCs interacting with the world as a way to show them how they can interact with the world, if that makes sense. Like show them what they can do. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay. Yeah. That's something that I need to think about, especially because, they're in war, so I feel like anything could happen. So yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
All right, good. Got anything else for me?
I mean, I could go on for hours, but yeah, I feel like
Hit-
I'm the one reason why your stream's still going right now. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill it out of this. So give me one more question for me to just like chew into, and then we can wrap it up.
Oh boy. Okay. Pressure's on. Bottom of the ninth. Let's say. So one thing I've also struggled with is having my players use magic items and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Because the campaign that we're in, where I'm the player, we've kind of we stumbled across a couple of things. It's a level 1 campaign, so we're from bottom to top. And then I wanted to try and keep things balanced while not breaking breaking any one person's experience or having them just steamroll through encounter after encounter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and everything I try and look up, it's like, well, it depends on what you want to give them. It's like, yeah, but what should I give them? You know what I mean?
Whatever they want, like whatever you want to give them. Honestly,
Yeah.
honestly, don't even worry about balance. Just give them, um, just give them cool stuff.
Yeah.
You'll learn over time what you can and can't handle. But for the most part, cool. Like just give them cool stuff and figure it out. It's better to give them too much and then learn like, oh, I gave them too much, than to give them. Well, the problem with giving them too much is that if you end up giving them too much, then you have to at some point take it away. Which is why I always recommend to DMs that if they're experimenting with loot, with giving out magic items, that they should give out temporary magic items, magic items that they know will only last a session. That way you can kind of experiment, or 2 or 3 or however many sessions. Give them temporary magic items, and that way you can see what impact this magic item is going to have on the game. They get the enjoyment of using it, and you don't have to worry about the commitments of, oh, I screwed up and gave them a +10 Vorpal sword. And now I'm paying for it.
Gotcha.
So
Cool.
a really cool temporary, like no matter how powerful a magic item is, if you make it temporary, you've only got to deal with it for as long as it exists. Once it goes away, it goes away. And as long as you're upfront that this magic item is temporary, they won't feel robbed once it's gone. They just have to appreciate it while it lasts. It's very important that you're upfront about this is a temporary thing. Like maybe when they identify it, oh, this is a fleeting +10 Vorpal greatsword. Like, oh, what is fleeting? Oh, it means it's only gonna last a session. Dang, I gotta flex this thing as much as possible.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely work with that.
So
Yeah. Okay.
experiment with
Makes
that.
sense. Makes sense. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it. Like I said, like I've DM'd for the first time since we've all been, playing. So I amount of questions I have are limitless, really. So, but this really gives me a good starting point, and I'm excited to keep going. So, thank you.
Happy to help, bud.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too.